Why are we wearing hard hats? Other than we look good in them.
I thought that was the only reason.
And now it's even more dangerous than it has been.
He is prone to fussing, but when he gets outside, he has no fuss.
Right? Folks, I'm Sean the Modern Yeoman, and I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of The Modern Yeoman. It's official. Frost has begun setting in overnight. I think it's fair to say that winter, such as it is, has set in our part of East Tennessee. We were in Michigan before this, so winter means very different things depending on what part of the country you're in. Anyways, here where we're at, we're getting frost overnight. And that's meant a couple of different things. Number one is making sure the animals are taken care of overnight. One thing that I've started to do is just loading up the pig shelter down in the woods with hay. They appreciate it. You can tell they have little furrows where you can see that they bed in at night. They're right next to each other. They get body heat from each other. Something as simple as hay for bedding in that shelter really makes a difference for their warmth at night. Another thing that I've started to do is getting ready to process our turkey friends. Thanksgiving, it's about a month away, but that's going to sneak up on us before we know it. And I'd like to have turkey from the homestead. Turkey and sweet potatoes from the homestead for our Thanksgiving meal. And that means it's time to process those turkeys, or at least start thinking about it. So I actually have a kind of a dangerous tree in the back pasture that I'm going to need help with for my dad to take down. But before I do that, I want to take inventory of all of the poultry processing equipment, make sure I have everything I need. Join me as I check out and see what we've got. I don't know if I'll give it a dry run just yet. That'll probably be next week, just to make sure everything's working, but I want to at least make sure everything's in place. So let's go. Let's get to it. First item, my outdoor sink. It's a little dusty. It's been in storage for a year, but everything seems to be in working order. All the parts are there, so I think this should be good to go. Foldable processing table. Check. The all-important plucker itself. I'm hoping that the turkeys, especially the tom turkeys, will fit into this thing. If nothing else, we can get some of them defeathered, part of those big birds defeathered, and maybe another part we'll have to pluck out by hand. Fingers crossed that this thing will actually fit those big turkeys and pluck them. Next up, hot pot and propane to heat it up. This is what I'll actually heat my water up with. Now, you'll note that this pot, although big, probably won't be big enough to contain the girth of those gigantic tom turkeys. So that actually leads me to my next piece of gear, and that's the giant sink that Nana Jana brought from her previous property. This sink will definitely hold those tom turkeys. What I'll end up doing probably is just take the water from the hot pot after it heats up, keep the thermometer on it, pour it into the sink, the big sink, and scald the turkeys after dispatching them, scald them in this big old sink. The one issue with this sink is it's got this hole in the bottom for the drain, and I've got no way to plug it up, no way to cork it up. So I'm gonna have to figure out something I can do to actually cork this thing. Electricity to plug in my plucker. Check. The hoses and the gear that I'll need to bring the water in to the processing station. 3 hoses, the main line that comes in, and 2 from a little splitter, which I also have, so check on that account. Last but not least, a way to actually dispatch the turkeys. I've got these big old killing cones that I used for the meat chickens last year, and they handled the meat chickens just fine, and I think these are actually marketed as turkey killing cones. I don't know if these will be big enough, so this is plan A. Plan B for killing the turkeys, especially the toms, I still haven't figured out yet. So I'm hoping that those big boys will actually fit into here. Fingers crossed. So there's my setup. All the pieces are in place, barring any unforeseen obstacles in my way to killing the actual tom turkeys in those killing cones. I think this should be a pretty good setup. As I said previously, I'm probably going to run through a dry run, get everything plugged in, get the water hooked up, just to test everything, clean off all the dust and stuff that's collected over the past year, and get everything ready to go. I'm excited to actually start processing animals on the homestead again. Quick chick update. These gals are growing quite quickly. As you can see, they're probably double, if not more, the size of when you last seen them, last week's video. They're growing quite big, and very soon I'm actually going to probably move these gals in their stock tank out with the other chickens in the A-frame so that they're away and they're closed off. That's what I did with the turkeys last year, and it worked out really well. I'm going to let them grow a little bit, get some more feathers, but here within a month, they'll be out there with the main flock. So, Dad, why are we wearing hard hats? Other than we look good in them.
I thought that was the only reason.
That's it. We're wearing hard hats because we look awesome.
End of video. No, we're about to do a little bit of work getting a tree down. I think it was actually in one of your earlier videos.
I made mention of it several videos ago. It's kind of a widowmaker. I'm going to pan around slowly so the viewers at home can see what I'm talking about. This tree right here, as you can see, is just hanging. It's a dead tree. It's fallen, months ago now, right?
It's been quite a few months.
And it's dangerous. It's just hanging here. You can look over here. You can see it's dead. Well, maybe you can see. I'm not sure if you can see, but it's dead. And it's right in a very prominent walkway here in the back pasture. We often take our four-wheeler down through here. We often walk through here. Eventually, we're going to have animals down through here. This dangerous tree hanging by what we think is a thread needs to come down. And so what it comes down to is we're pretty sure that this whole thing is being held up by this vine right here. I'm pointing at the vine. You may or may not be able to see it, but you can see this line right here. That's the vine. It ends up hooking to a live tree way up there, and we're pretty sure that the vine is holding this entire tree up. Vines can be strong, especially this vine, but there's no telling when that vine can snap, whether it gets some wind or you're just, it rots away because of bugs or birds get into it. And what we don't want happening is one of us walking around one day and the tree falls on us.
Yeah, I was telling Sean just earlier today, as a matter of fact, his mom, my wife, and one of our grandsons were walking back here, and before I could get to him, he was walking underneath this and reaching for one of these vines that's hanging down, and he was going to pull on it. And I had to snap at him a little bit. I had to tell him I wasn't mad at him.
Yes.
Little 5-year-old guy, but just don't want to take a chance of this thing falling.
Correct. So we've got the pole saw, we've got a regular chainsaw, or a pole chainsaw, we got a regular chainsaw, and we've got some rope. Ideally, and Dad, back me up here, ideally, the thinking is we cut this vine,
Right.
and this thing just falls.
Yes.
It just falls straight down. That's ideally. We're not sure, though. Anyone who's worked with felling trees in the woods knows that there are times when trees don't fall the way you want them to fall. That's the reason why we're wearing these hats, is because there is a small chance that there's tension on this vine in a way that we don't expect, and it could fall in a completely different direction that we're not prepared for. What I'm thinking we can do is we can toss the rope over and tug at it as one of us cuts at this vine right here, which I hope that pole saw is tall enough. I mean, that's up there. If the pole saw doesn't reach, or alternatively, if that vine isn't actually holding it up, I think what our next step is to get a wedge and cut the thing from right there at the base, which is a little more risky. Again, the hope is we just take the pole saw, we get it up there, maybe up there.
Well, I think at least to get a start on it, we can hit some of this scraggly stuff just to kind of get it out of the way after we throw the rope, because if it starts to fall, we can tug on it.
We can tug on it, yeah.
But, just so we're not dealing with all of that nonsense right here, and they'll give us a better view as to whether or not we can get up there and make that cut.
Okay, so first order of business is tossing the rope.
Yep.
And then maybe we just toss the rope and pull on it. Save us some time.
Yeah.
Save us bussing out the chainsaw altogether.
True.
Perfect. Nice.
Yeah. It's up there.
At this point, I'm going to bust out the pole saw. Where I'm standing now, the hope is that the pole saw is long enough to actually reach up to where the vine is. And then you'll pull as I'm cutting it. I can reach it, but the only way to reach it is if I'm right under it.
Well, there goes one. Whoops, coming your way.
Yep.
That's crazy.
There it is.
So now it's this one over here.
It's still hanging by the... We didn't attack it the way we thought. The vine was higher, and the only way for me to reach the vine was to stand directly underneath the tree.
Which is a
which is
no-go.
not going to happen.
Yeah.
So what we ended up doing was cutting from right there. Actually cutting the limb itself, or actually cutting the trunk itself. I'm not sure if you can see where the cedar cuts are right there. So we cut them, but that vine is so darn strong that it's still holding it up.
Right.
And now it's even more dangerous than it has been. We got to be unorthodox here, I think, and either go for this vine, which I don't think is possible, without standing directly underneath it. Because, like I said, it's more dangerous now than it has been. You can hear it creaking. Or you pull, maybe from the other direction,
Right.
and I
You
cut that
from over-
final kind of skinny branch right there.
Yeah.
I think that's what we should try. Let's give it a shot.
Do that.
It's creaking like an old schooner.
It's creaking like my bones.
It wants to go. Hey, still holding on by that vine. I'm going to get this thing down.
What I expected.
Still. Okay, so credit to this vine, which is still holding these things up. It's a lot safer now that they're down, but as you can see, this vine still holding the darn thing up. So I'm going to get in those woods and come at the vine while Dad's holding it there.
There we go. Nice.
So success. We got this thing down, finally. And Dad, the only thing holding it up for the longest time was that vine.
Yep.
Which again, shout out to that vine. Here it is.
Tenacious.
This thing, this gnarled old vine right here. This thing held up, I don't know how many pounds this is. A couple hundred. It held it up through all of our machinations, but eventually we got it.
Yes.
Dad pulled on it while I ended up coming at from this side right here, and it came down. I think at this point we still want to knock this down,
Yeah.
but we're going to use the regular saw for that.
One of the issues with this, I guess backing up a little bit, neither one of us are experts at felling trees. You know, we've done a little bit here and there. So we tend to err on the side of caution.
Yes.
Try to take everything into consideration. And in this particular case, it may be hard to see, but there's kind of the main branch or the main tree limb
Right here.
is resting on this other smaller one,
Yes.
which is still tethered in the ground. It's still rooted in the ground. And so the concern is in, like if you were to cut either one of these, there could be a little bit of a boomerang.
Yes.
So which one to cut first is kind of what we're deliberating right now. All right, it's out. All right, yeah.
Now it's dead, but we'll have to do something with this.
Cut it up into little pieces and put it in your closet. Success.
That
Cool.
does it.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished. Thank you, Dad.
We gotta get our fist bump down.
Which There's a little bit of apprehension because we've been so used to both of us, well, and Nana Jana and my parents helping with Henry, but I'll be one less pair of hands to hold the little guy when somebody needs to do something, when Mama needs to take off and do something. He is growing, though. He's growing quick. He's a month old as of yesterday. Or is it tomorrow? Well, he's a month old. He's 4 weeks old. So somebody likes the outdoors, right, Mama?
Yes, he loves it. He is prone to fussing, but when he gets outside, he has no fuss. No fuss at all.
He's an outdoorsman, right, Henry? Right? Also, we hope to get the soil scientist out, take another look at things here soon. This coming week, we'll see. She's a busy gal. We're hoping that she can get out here and we can either find a place for Nana Jana's drain field, or we move on to another route, which is like a composting toilet and gray water system. We'll see. We'll keep you guys updated on that. Thanks for hanging out with us, as always. And until we see you guys again next time, remember, the way things are on this homestead and the way things are in life, sometimes we don't like it, but it is what it is. Slowly, slowly.